Pallando was one of two blue wizards, known also as Romestamo in Quenya. He was originally a Maya, or high servant of the Valar. Born before the creation of Arda and taking part in the music of the Ainur, Pallando lived as Maya called Palasendo, meaning far-sighted one, in the Undying Lands in the far west. He served mainly Mandos, and sometimes Niena, but great friendship connected him to Alatar, a servant of Vala Orome the Hunter. Palasendo was considered to be the 11th most powerful Maya in Valinor, equal in power to Alatar, but slightly inferior to both Radagast and Gandalf. With his powers, he helped his friend in his efforts to fight Morgoth, the first Dark Lord, and his fellow creatures. When the Valar decided to send help to Middle-earth against the rising power of Sauron, Orome chose Palando's friend Alatar to sail east across the sea to Middle-earth to help the peoples there oppose the new Lord of the Dark. Alatar was originally going to go alone, but he persuaded Orome to allow him to bring Pallando along as a friend, and also because Pallando had a great knowledge of the furthest parts of Middle-earth where Alatar was destined to journey to. Pallando arrived in Middle-earth dressed in a sea blue robe and looking like an older man, full of wisdom and knowledge, but still visually younger than Gandalf in appearance. He sported a grey beard too. The length of his beard was not the same as either Gandalf's or Saruman's though. Alatar and Pallando were together known as the Itrin Luin, the Blue Wizards, because their robes were blue, with Pallando's being a little bit darker shade of the sea blue than Alatar's. In the likeness of men they appeared, old but vigorous, and they changed little with the years and aged but slowly, though great cares lay on them. Great wisdom they had, and many powers of mind and hand. All Istari, including Pallando, held a staff primarily used to channelize their miraculous powers. Pallando and Alatar actually came to Middle-earth before the other wizards, at roughly the same time as Glorfindel, in circa year 1600 of the Second Age, soon after the Year of Dread, when Sauron forged the One Ring and completed the first phase of Barad-dûr construction. Whilst Glorfindel was tasked with aiding Gil-galad and Elrond during the war in Eriador, the wizards were destined to journey to the east and south. Therefore, right after arrival, they wandered far from the northwestern shores, exploring the distant eastern and southern regions, far out of Númenóran range, like emissaries to enemy-occupied lands. Their task was to circumvent Sauron, to bring help to the few tribes of men that had rebelled from Melkor worship, and to stir up rebellion. At that time, have Pallando earned his name in mortal lands, which is usually translated as far-traveling one, or seldomly as he who comes from afar. During their travels in the east, the Blue Wizards scouted the land and the peoples living there. After the first fall of Sauron, in which they played an unsung but still a decisive role, because they had hindered the mustering of the Easterling forces, the Blue Wizards tried to search out the hiding of Sauron's spirit. For 1,000 years they searched, but without success. When this mission failed, they returned back to the west to meet Saruman, the head of their newly established order. It was in the year 1000 of the Third Age. Their main goal remained the same though, to encourage the peoples of Middle-earth to oppose Sauron. At some point, Saruman the White decided to travel east, and Pallando and Alatar went with him. Although Saruman returned west in due time, the Blue Wizards stayed behind and were not heard of or seen west of Mordor since. They continued in their original mission, encouraging the peoples of Rhûn, the Easterlings and Southrons, who worshipped Sauron and whose numbers were steadily increasing, not to fight for the Dark Lord, but rather to stand against him. But Sauron's hold over the Easterlings was very strong, and he recruited many of their leaders to fight for him, constantly provoking many tribes of his ardent followers to attack his enemies in Gondor. Although Pallando and Alatar succeeded in convincing some of the peoples of Rhûn to stop fighting for the Dark Lord, for it is confirmed by Gondorian sources that the number of Sauron's legions from Rhûn decreased after their arrival, their work was constantly disrupted by Sauron's agents, minions, or even the Nazgûl servants. When Saruman eventually returned to northwestern Middle-earth, Pallando and Alatar did not. Pallando continued his work for some time with partial success, although Sauron's loyal tribes attacked the peoples under his influence continually. The name Romestamo, meaning helper of the East, confirms his successful effort and his influence. These internal struggles between various Easterlings meant disarray amid the forces of the Dark East, which may have actually saved the West, because otherwise the numbers standing against Gondor and the remaining free peoples would be overwhelming indeed. In time, Pallando strayed from his original purpose though. He was lured by power, and with his magic he was able to influence others easily. His power of voice was even stronger than Saruman's, as his main focus was the magic of human soul. At first he established a school for a few pupils, whom he taught and trained in the spirit magic. These followers helped him in his original quest, but in time he founded more and more of these strange magic cults, placing himself at the head of every single one of them. Thus he gained control and an important base of loyal followers, slowly falling into darkness himself. After the final downfall of Sauron, he refused to abandon what he had created. His cults and rituals in the East continued well into the Fourth Age. During his campaigns into the East and South, Aragorn, as King Elessar of Gondor, with Eomer, the King of Rohan, at his side, encountered resistance led by sorcerers and other magicians of powers unknown in the West. It is highly probable that these conjurers were originally Pallando's pupils. It is not clear if Pallando fell for power and strayed from his original purpose before or after the final fall of Sauron though. All in all, he was denied permission to return to the Undying Lands in the West. Whatever his fate was after the end of the War of the Ring remains unknown. If you like the video, please give it a thumb up and subscribe if you are not already, as each takes just a second to do and will be very much appreciated. And for those who want to go the extra mile and support the channel, the Buy Me a Coffee link is in the description below. Thank you everybody. See you next time.